What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. It's a Top 5 Tuesdays, and today's Top 5 is going to be my favorite animated superhero movies. As many of you know, the animated versions of our superheroes have been some of the best takes. They will adapt different stories from comics, sometimes original stories, and they've really been upping their game in the last 5 or 6 years and making some incredible adaptations that I absolutely love. So I wanted to give you guys my top 5. Alright, so let's get right into it. Now, I want to start with an honorable mention, as I usually do. And this honorable mention goes to Avengers Confidential, Black Widow, and Punisher. This film is really, really dope. It's made by Madhouse, which is the animation studio out of Japan, and I really love their stuff, and they really go for it in this film. It's a great portrayal of Frank Castle. I love his relationship with the different Avengers, and it has that anime flavor to it. It's just the action and the way they do it. And I'll never forget the way the one guy says Rhodey when I was watching the subtitled version. Rhodey! It's awesome stuff. So a nice little combination of, like, you know, American superheroes and Japanese animation. Really, really liked it, but it couldn't quite crack the top 5. Honorable mention, Avengers Confidential, Black Widow, and Punisher. Alright, so let's get into number 5. Now, number 5 is a Superman story, and the comic version of this might just be the best Superman story ever told, and that would be All-Star Superman. This is a Grant Morrison masterpiece that was originally drawn by Frank Quitely, and anybody knows about this story, but the animated adaptation of it is also very, very excellent. Dwayne McDuffie, I need to say this guy's name several times throughout the video because he worked at DC. He was a writer, and then he started to work in animation, still as a writer, but a very brilliant guy that we lost as a community way too young. But he was able to take this incredibly intricate 12-issue run and adapt it into a movie that's only, I think, like 80 minutes long, and he does a great job of hitting all the little notes and getting the feels, man. The feels you get from All-Star Superman is crazy. Real quickly, I always tell people, if they don't know what it's about, imagine Superman getting awesome cancer. And what I mean by awesome cancer is that, you know how his cells absorb sunlight to make him stronger? Imagine he absorbed so much sunlight that he was essentially dying, ergo the cancer. But as this was happening, he was also getting more powerful than he had ever been before. It's like a crescendo of powers and insight and looking back that leads to, well, I'm not going to tell you what it leads to because you should watch it and or read it. But All-Star Superman gets my number 5 spot on my top favorite animated superhero films. So let's go to number 4. Number 4 is Justice League Doom. Also adapted by Dwayne McDuffie. I'm going to say his name a couple more times. Dwayne McDuffie. Look the man up. He was absolutely incredible. Dwayne McDuffie. Look that dude up. But this loosely adapts Mark Waid's run of the Tower of Babel. Quite simply put, Batman, who is the ultimate detective and always prepared for any scenario, formulates a plan to contain and take out the members of the Justice League if it were ever required. Imagine if somebody got a hold of that was not Batman and started to put that plan into motion. And imagine the drama it would create between the members of the League and Batman. I mean, if that doesn't get you intrigued, check your pulse because you're dead. That movie's awesome. Once again, adapted by Dwayne McDuffie. Very, very good movie. You should definitely check that out. Now let's go to number 3. Now, number 3 is the Planet Hulk animated movie, which is adapted from the Greg Pak storyline, once again produced by Madhouse Studios out of Japan. This movie's super legitimate, adapts very well the story, gets you all the notes. Basically, if you didn't know what this story was about, the Illuminati, who are a member of highly influential people within the Marvel Universe, get together and decide that Banner, and aka the Hulk, are just simply, he's too dangerous to have on Earth. So they formulate a plan, they put him in a shuttle and launch him towards a planet where he can live out his days in peace and no longer be bothered or bother the planet. things do not go according to plan, and he crash lands on a planet where he is subjugated, meant to be a gladiator. Imagine Hulk, imagine the Russell Crowe movie Gladiator, but with Hulk as the main person. I mean, yeah, it's super dope. By the way, in Thor Ragnarok, they are using part of this story with the armor included, and I cannot wait to see what that looks like. Hoping for some Beta Ray Bill action in that one. But the animated movie is awesome. You guys should definitely check that out. It hits all the notes from that adaptation, and is one of the best Hulk stories that I've ever seen played out or read. So that gets my number 3 spot. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. What are my top 2 favorite superheroes animated films? Well, number 2 is the Flashpoint Paradox. This was a Geoff Johns story, and this story was mind-blowing. Now, this story has implications in the DC universe that stretch to even today. When you look at Rebirth, it basically gives you kind of an ulterior explanation for what has affected the New 52, because originally the Flashpoint Paradox, which is basically Barry Allen going back in time and saving his mother, what that did to the entire DC universe, and it had lasting ramifications. The New 52 was one of those ramifications. The whole universe got reshuffled, and the Flash show with Grant Gustin is doing a version of the Flashpoint Paradox next season. Everybody's anticipating this, and I think it's going to literally reshuffle things around to like allow things like Supergirl and Arrow and possibly even like a Batman and their whole like expanded Berlanti universe thing to exist in the same place. It's going to be like the New 52 of the CW universe, hopefully more successful than it is. Although, to be fair, the New 52 was a success at first. But that Flashpoint Paradox, it's violent, it's gritty. The relationship that the dad of Bruce Wayne has, thinking about his son, it's so intriguing. Thomas Wayne, if you didn't know, actually becomes the Batman in the Flashpoint Paradox after his son Bruce is shot in Crime Alley rather than the other way around. His mother becomes the Joker because she goes insane after watching her son get shot. It is awesome, man. And the comics run is super awesome. The movie does a really great job of adapting it. So Flashpoint Paradox gets my number 2 spot. If you've only got like 10 minutes, watch the last fight scene in that movie. It's mind-blowing. It's exactly what I want to see out of the DCFU on the silver screen. Like, that kind of shit is crazy. So that gets my number 2 spot. Now let's get it. What's the winner? What is the winner? And if you know me at all, if you know the books that I write, my influences as a creator, this pick will not surprise you. But The Dark Knight Returns, Part 1 and Part 2. That's right, I cheated and I combined them into one movie. They get my number 1 spot. I mean, this was one of the best Batman stories ever written, and the adaptation of it is amazing. It is unapologetically bold, it is gritty and violent and dark. I love it. I think they did an awesome job with it, and I even like the fact that they split it up into 2 parts. It's a really weird thing, similarly to the way I like Kill Bill Part 1 and 2. Like, there are things I really like about Part 1, and there are things I really like about Part 2. And of course, the Batman Superman fight that was, influential on Batman v Superman is incredible. Now, I'll say this, I did not like the fight in BVS the movie with, Affleck and Cavill. I thought that fight was stupid. There were aspects of it that were cool, but we saw it all in the trailers, and it was severely ruined for me because of that fact. Now, if you want to see a dope fight between Batman and Superman, more in the lines the way that it should have been on the screen, go watch this movie. I'm telling you, I know people will say, oh, it's animated, oh, I can't get behind it, I can't get behind animated. You're gonna have to trust me. Just go watch this movie. Watch the first 20 minutes of Part 1, and if you are not drawn in enough to watch both of them in a setting and possibly cancel a date or a phone call to mom or something, then I apologize. You're crazy, because honestly, these movies are super dope. So that gets my number one spot. But as you probably noticed, I mean, these are all really, really great films. There were some that I couldn't quite put on this list because there's been so many good ones over the last years, and even going all the way back to the Phantasm Mask. I mean, there are crazy good animated films out there. They've always really stepped up their game. And by the way, DC kind of brings it a little harder with the animated division than Marvel. That was until Killing Joke, which, in my opinion, totally sucked. But that's my top 5 Tuesday list for now. Let's check that nerd card. This question is going to be about superheroes television. And the question is, what was the name of the very first live action superhero television show that was ever on TV? I'll give you a hint. It was not Batman 66. The show actually took place in the 50s and was wildly popular. Answer the question in the comment section below. Like the video if you thought it was awesome. Top 5 Tuesdays coming at you every week. In fact, next week I should be doing a very special Top 5 Tuesday with a collaborator, a fellow YouTuber, and I are going to get together and we're both going to give our top 5. So it should be extra juicy next week. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you get that video, guys. Like I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya.